I never thought my life would take this turn. I never thought I would be the kind of woman who kept secrets, who hid glances and moments that could never be explained if anyone else saw them. But sometimes the line between what's right and what feels impossible to resist becomes so thin, so fragile, that one breath is enough to shatter it. And that's exactly what happened with Ryan, my husband's best friend. I've been married to Daniel for 8 years. He's steady, kind, dependable, the kind of man any woman would be proud to have by her side. We built a life together, filled with weekend road trips, cozy nights at home, and quiet routines that felt safe. Maybe too safe. I thought I loved him the way a wife should love her husband. And maybe I did, once. But love doesn't always protect you from temptation. Ryan had been a part of Daniel's life since childhood. They played football together in high school, stood up as best man in each other's weddings, and shared every milestone of their adult lives. Naturally, he became part of mine too. He was around for Sunday football games, summer barbecues, birthday dinners, even late-night glasses of wine on the patio when the air was cool and the stars felt close. It was all so normal. At least, it used to be. Something shifted. It was subtle at first, easy to dismiss if I wanted to. A glance that lingered a little too long. A compliment that felt heavier than it should have. "You look beautiful today." Just 3 words. Simple, harmless words. But when Ryan said them, his voice dipped in a way that made my breath catch before I could stop it. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was in my head, that I was reading too much into nothing. But every time I saw him, something in the air between us tightened, pulled, hummed with unspoken tension. I felt it in my skin, in the way his eyes followed me when he thought no one was watching. One evening, Daniel invited Ryan over for dinner. Nothing unusual, just pasta, wine, laughter. But every time I looked up, Ryan's gaze was already on me. Quiet, intense, filled with something I didn't want to name. After dinner, Daniel stepped outside to take a call, leaving me alone in the kitchen. The sound of the sliding door closing behind him made my chest tighten. Ryan moved closer, his voice low. "You've been quiet tonight." "Just tired," I replied quickly, forcing myself to look anywhere but at him. But then his words dropped heavier than the room itself. "I think about you more than I should." My heart hammered in my chest. I turned to face him. "Ryan, don't." But his eyes said everything his mouth didn't. The longing. The want. The question neither of us dared to put into words. I should have stepped away, should have ended it right then. Instead, I froze. I didn't stop him with words. I didn't stop him with silence. Then Daniel's voice carried in from outside, breaking the moment like glass shattering on tile. Ryan stepped back, his jaw tight, eyes still locked on mine. And then he left. But something had already happened. Something we couldn't take back. From that night on, the tension between us became unbearable. A glance across a room set my pulse racing. A brush of fingers when he handed me a glass burned hotter than it should. I told myself I was strong enough to ignore it. I wasn't. A week later, Daniel asked Ryan to stop by and help with something in the garage. I stayed inside, pretending not to notice, but I could feel it, the pull. And then, Ryan walked into the kitchen. Just the 2 of us again. "You shouldn't be here," I whispered. "I know," he said softly, eyes searching mine. "But you feel it too, don't you?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The silence spoke louder than words. He stepped closer, and the world went quiet again, as if the universe itself held its breath. I should have stopped him. But I didn't. And just before anything could happen, the front door creaked open. Daniel was home. Ryan stepped back instantly, his expression unreadable but his eyes blazing with everything we weren't saying. The moment ended, but the damage was done. That night, lying in bed beside my husband, I stared at the ceiling, wondering when my heart had started betraying me. When had Daniel's steady warmth stopped being enough? When had Ryan's eyes become the ones I couldn't stop thinking about? The next time it happened, there were no interruptions. Daniel was away on a business trip, and Ryan came to the door. I shouldn't have let him in. But I did. And once he was there was no turning back. "This is wrong," I whispered, even as my body betrayed me, leaning toward him, craving what I knew I shouldn't want. Then why does it feel so right? He asked, his voice trembling with the same hunger I felt. I had no answer. Only the weight of years of unspoken need pressing down on me until I gave in. And I let it happen. Again. And again. I told myself I could keep my heart out of it, that it was only physical, that no one had to know. But guilt is a heavy thing. Every time I looked at Daniel, every time his hand brushed mine with the same trust he had always given me, the hollowness inside me grew deeper. One morning, over coffee, Daniel looked at me differently. "You've been different lately," he said gently. "Just tired," I lied, forcing a smile. But then he reached across the table, his hand warm and steady on mine. "If something's wrong, you'd tell me, right?" I nodded, swallowing hard. Another lie. That night, as he slept peacefully beside me, I stared at him in the dark. The man who had given me everything, who trusted me completely, who loved me without hesitation. And I realized I was becoming someone I didn't even recognize. I tried to end it. Tried to put distance between us. But by then, Ryan and I were too far gone. The silence between us now felt heavier than words, impossible to ignore. And I know the truth won't stay buried forever. It never does. Eventually, secrets demand to be spoken. I don't know how this ends. I don't know if it can end without destroying everything. But I do know this: I crossed a line I can never uncross. I betrayed a man who loved me for something I still can't fully define. Was it love? Was it desire? Or was it just the ache of being seen again after so many years of feeling invisible? All I know is my life used to be simple. Now, it's anything but.